From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
Tornadoes and hurricanes and snowstorms. Call up the weather guy, Squirrel, and tell him I want 50 on no tornado. But that wouldn't manipulate the fear, the obligation, and the guilt. And that's always the tool of the tyrant, of the swindler, of the con artist. And that's what we face with ghettonomics. You see, it isn't the years anymore where you're discussing and debating the virtue of communism, government control of the economy. We're way past that. You want to live low, then live like a Democrat. They live low. And it boils down to the characters. There are only two characters. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care who you like to sleep with. I don't care any of that. Do you want to keep your money or do you want to take someone else's? It's that simple. Now, our country is rife with the idea that you can use the government to steal money because you're entitled to something. And there we are. But when you see these children, these intellectual midgets, these frauds, talking about, I was listening to Alexi Janulis, that shyster, slick, merengue dancer fraud. What a low-life loser. Everything that scumbag touches is an absolute loss. And here we are 15 months into the Trump administration, and everything he touches is an out-and-out winner. Losers hate that. In 15 months, what Donald Trump has done for immigration, for the economy, for the insanity of that green energy bulldog, like the tornadoes and lions and tigers and fear, all fraud. And the IMF bank comes out, said they're worried about American debt. 14 trillion of our debt is for these Euro trash fraud scumbags at the IMF bank and the World Bank. All those loan guarantees that Joe, why are my socks wet Biden after he stole the election, all got squashed. We don't know who the loan guarantees have gone to, but we know we are never getting the money back. Just like the money stolen in New York, in New Jersey, in Illinois. What a frickin' joke. Minnesota and California. These are the people who want someone else's money. They're thieves and they're cowards. And that's why they weaponize fear. It's that fracking simple. And every day we're vindicated over and over and over again. They, when I say they, any Democrat-run dunghole that was once a great area, like our own, they steal the money and they have no fracking idea where it is.
New at 5, people, businesses, city employees all together owe the city more than $8 billion in overdue debt. That's according to a new Inspector General report released today.
That amount is most likely a lot bigger, though. CBS News Chicago investigator Dorothy Tucker is here now to break down the...
See, and when you talk, you're talking billions to these intellectual morons that couldn't pay their fracking rent. They can't put food in their mouth. They can't pay anything. $1 billion, $1 billion is 1,000 million. They have no concept of it, which is why they can steal it with impunity. They don't give a rip.
Findings, Dorothy.
For Erica, the report revealed antiquated systems and policies dating back decades that prevent the city's Department of Finance from tracking and collecting all of the money owed. The first finding, no one city department tracks the debt. The problem, different departments use different systems, and they don't talk to each other.
They cannot run anything. They cannot achieve anything when it comes to money or finance or success. Can't do it. So what do? You get your Pied Pipers of ghettonomics. You doll them up in suits they could never buy before they got government jobs or government-sponsored jobs, like teachers at the Chicago Teacher Union, $119,000 on average. And they can't talk, read, or do math. That's why the kids can't do it either. And I'm talking to you, commies. You all want May Day off, too. I love when you show everybody who you are. And that's what Brandon Johnson, this bust-out, fraud, did anything in his useless, thieving life.
What do you say to small restaurant owners in black and brown neighborhoods, especially who are really struggling and can't afford to stay open because of this?
I reject the notion of pitting small black-owned business owners, as you described, against black and brown women who are making $12 an hour. They are not causing a disruption to our economy. We have seen more people applying for business license than we've ever seen in the city of Chicago. What did Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton run on? What was it, $25 an hour? We're talking about $12.73. Which is it? Does the party believe in $25 an hour, or does the party believe in $12.73? And let's pause that. Got to figure out who we want to be. I know who I am. I'm the mayor that's going to ensure that we have the most pro-worker city in America. Again, a $1.25 billion bond investment, over $600 million devoted to small businesses. That is the largest investment in the history of Chicago for small businesses. And yes, we passed paid time off. Yes, we've abolished the sub-minimum wage that has its vestiges tied to slavery. And black and brown women being forced to make ends meet off of less than $35,000 a year, that's an injustice.
So the money that he talks about in bonds, the investments, that's what accounts for the applications for businesses. Not a one, are you listening to me? Not a one would be opening up if the government wasn't paying it to open up. And when he talks about the black and the black and the black and the black, the damage that black Democrats have done to black people, white people, yellow people, red people, green people, sissy people, heterosexual people, all kinds of people, is worse than the slave owners. What do you think of that? That's what I said, squirrel. Not to mention, at the time of the Civil War, 3,775 slave owners were black. They owned 12,760 other blacks. Who gets the reparations? Stupid. Who gets it? And what about the white people who are descendants from the Union soldiers that fought the black-financed Confederacy? What about that? See, but those are only details you would know if you could read, which is why 85% of the kids can't read. So they listen to this swindler. And it makes sense to them on some level, even though they are being cast into indentured servitude themselves. As the debt goes up and the departments that are supposed to run the government, they have no fracking idea where the money is. Any more than they know how that moron who stands up there and says he spends $37,000 a year on the dumbest haircut in Chicago. What is that, a faux hawk? What the frack is going on with your hair, stupid? Wearing a $6,500 Brioni suit. And this is the same fool, the same non-man that could not pay the water bill for his family. And he's going to tell you how he's going to pay yours? It's a fracking swindle. And all they need is more people's money. And that goes back to the character of what a Democrat is. If you want to steal someone else's money, you are a Democrat. If you don't want anything from anybody else and you only want to keep your money, you can never vote or be a Democrat. It's that simple.
Example, when people call paramedics and ambulances, they're supposed to pay the city's emergency medical services. The Department of Finance told OIG $327 million had not been collected. But investigators found a lot more. The total owed skyrocketed to $1.5 billion. DOF said it will work with other departments to make sure all outstanding.
Everything's going to happen in the future. It's exactly what the Soviets understood. That's why the people who are from the former Soviet Union, they stay far away from Democrats. They've heard this before. In 5 years, it's going to be spectacular. Ooh, are you going to love it? We got a 5-year plan. We got a 3-year plan. We got a 2-year plan. And all of these arguments have been defeated by the reality of results throughout history. These aren't arguments anymore. Anybody that ever read anything or can read, ever ran anything or succeeded in anything knows exactly what this imbecile is doing. He's making it easier for the government fraud jobs, the government fraud, thieving, mafia unions to stay in business and increase their ranks.
The minimum wage law is as clear a case as you could want. The special interests are, of course, the trade unions, the monopolistic craft trade unions in particular. The do-gooders believe that by passing a law saying that nobody shall get less than $2 an hour or $2.50 an hour or whatever the minimum wage is, you are...
You know why he said it like that, Squirrel? Because this was Milton Friedman. In 1970,
helping poor people who need the money. You are doing nothing of the kind. What you are doing is to assure that people whose skills are not sufficient to justify that kind of a wage will be unemployed. It is no accident that the teenage unemployment rate, the unemployment rate among teenagers in this country, is over twice as high as the overall unemployment rate. It's no accident that that was not always the case until the 1950s, when the minimum wage rate was raised very drastically, very quickly.
Do you know why he said that, Squirrel? Because back in that day, before Bill Clinton corrupted the BLS for labor statistics, they used to break it down to the age groups. They don't even tell you what teenage unemployment is because it's quintupled. How many kids you know between 16 and 19 that are working? How many do you know? If you know one, he's a standout kid, and he doesn't want anything from anybody. And that's the difference. Character versus the lack of character. There is no question what happens when ghettonomics is implemented.
What happens when the minimum wage goes up? Well, Seattle is getting an experiment in that right now. You see, in 2014, Seattle adopted a minimum wage ordinance. This required annual wage increases. The law had two parts, and businesses with more than 500 employees already had to comply. Well, starting this year, the requirements for smaller businesses kicked in. This increased the minimum wage for all employers to $20.76 per hour. And now restaurants like this are closing. For over 10 years, Bebop Waffle Shop existed in West Seattle, but the owner says the wage increase would cost her an extra $32,000 a year. And
now no more Bebop! No more Bebop waffles! You got a taste for a waffle? Get your ass in your kitchen and make it yourself. We're the ones that created the convenience that these sloths backdoor nationalize and turn into slaves in the once great cities that they made a life in, that they brought a service to, that they made achievements for all the people in the area. And that's why wherever a Democrat rules, they destroy the quality of life for the provider, for the business, for the entrepreneur, and they destroy the convenience for themselves and for their slaves. You want to know where slavery lives today? Every Democrat city, every Democrat-run municipality, every Democrat county and state. That's where slavery lives today. 312-642-5600.
He believes in freedom, capitalism, and individual liberty. And because of that, he's become an enemy of the state. He's Shaun Thompson, and this is The Shaun Thompson Show.